Chris was like, that's all right. I can handle this interview without you, babe. And I was like, stop being the sweet talker. He's like,
no, you will not.
He's like, this is right up my alley, talking about online dating. I'm like, okay, Rico Suave, calm down over there.
And now, coming to you from the K2 studios in San Diego, California, it's the world famous Chris and Christine Show.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? How you doing today out there? Thank you for listening, and I am Chris.
And I'm Christine, and welcome to episode 69 of the Chris and Christine Show.
Fantastic. And I know I said this already, but thank you so much for listening to our podcast. We both very much so appreciate this.
I know we do so much, and can you believe we have made it this far, Chris?
Oh, wow. So far. And this episode is going to be, I'm sad to say, the last episode of 2020.
Are you really sad to say that?
Not really. It is the last week of the year 2020. Here we are late in December after Christmas. And here we are.
It's so funny. I was looking on, I don't know if it was Twitter or Instagram earlier, and somebody had posted, like, don't talk about how great the year 2021 is going to be. Just walk in slowly, keep your head down, and stay quiet.
Right. Like, don't touch anything, Just kind of ease into it, and not jinx yourself, really.
I saw another one. It was really funny. And it was like, did you ever stop to think about the fact and get disturbed that the year 2021 is like saying that the year 2020 won?
Like, won the game.
Yeah.
Like 2020, haha.
And then my sister posted something else that was like, if 2020 was bad, just think about the fact that now it's of age and can drink 21.
Oh, yeah. Well, they should do some kind of like, they should really open the bars, I think, in the clubs and have this big like throw off like 2021, which unfortunately this New Year's Eve, I don't think anything is open. I don't think even Times Square is even doing anything.
Yeah, I was wondering about that as I was driving today and picking up Ezekiel and bringing him back here for a week. And we passed through the Pasadena area. And I was like, oh, wait, is the Rose Parade going to actually happen this year?
No, I think they moved it to Texas, I heard.
Wait, what?
Or something like that.
The Rose Parade is...
Or maybe it's the Rose Bowl. It's one of those rose things they're doing. They're moving it out of state.
No.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, no. Look it up. Google it.
Okay, you guys, this is... No, not okay. I was actually thinking like I could go and take the kids. Well, actually, I wouldn't take the kids because, crowds and everything. But...
Well, I don't think you go anywhere. And speaking of that, I just remembered my mom... I was talking to her on the phone, and she said that this is going to be the first New Year's Eve that she's ever been in town.
Oh, yeah.
They always go to Las Vegas every single New Year's Eve, and this is going to be the first time ever in probably the last 20 years that they actually are going to be here in town at home. And the mom said, what do people do for New Year's Eve, at home? What do they do? Because they're always at this big festival or this big
oh yeah, that music thing that happens in Vegas,
but it's a New Year's Eve party they always go to, and they're not going to be there for this year. So,
well, there has been a lot that's happened in the year 2020. Some things that have been more difficult than others, and some big successes. And what do we like to do on our last episode of the year, Chris?
We like to run through the year in review of 2020. And I know that it may not sound like a lot has really happened because all the closures and the whole COVID and everything. But we look back at the year, and actually for us and our podcast, and us and generally speaking, we've actually did a lot of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, in our personal lives, we definitely have. We figured out how to do some socially distanced, appropriate, not gatherings, but maybe getaways, safe getaways and things like that. And the other thing is that the fact is of podcasting, because we're able to do it in our home-based studio, that we're able to really accomplish a lot, right, Chris?
Absolutely. We were able to have a bunch of guests on this year. I mean, every single episode we've had a guest. We'll have some on later today too. But and Christine's been home, working from home remotely because of COVID. And it's been great being able to have her here so we can get this stuff done.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit harder at first when we first had to go to this emergency distance learning with the kiddos and trying to figure out how to balance it. But one of the things that I've realized is I've learned so much more about our kids the more that they're around us, some of their interests and some of their anxieties and their fears, and we've helped to develop some of their passions. Like, think about what you've done with Ezekiel with his love for music. And what's that project you've been doing with him?
You talking about him making his own music, like singing? He was doing more like kind of like a karaoke without the words in front of him. He would like have the music. We would copy the song or something off of like YouTube. And then he had the audio. And then what we would do is he would sing to the audio in his head to the music, and we kind of record it all. And he put them all down on track on a CD, kids. That's like a compact disc. It's like
old school. Yeah, he had to learn how to burn a CD for his first time. That was cool. Well,
actually, I had to learn how to burn a CD because I haven't done it in so long. I'm like, okay, I know you put the CD in here. It's blank. And they got to figure out what button. But luckily, I think on Windows, maybe Mac too, but on Windows, when you put a blank CD in there, the computer says, hey, this CD's blank. Would you like to burn a music CD? And I say, yes, sir, I would. Let's do this. And then you just drag and drop the tracks onto the thing. And then there you go.
Yeah, and he started to rap to some of them. And some of it was singing and some of it was rapping. But it's a passion that he had. And then he taught himself how to auto-tune and like do some really different types of reverb and things on his voices. But that was because you had some time with him because he was not in school at that time, or he was distance learning. I think it was when we were under quarantine.
Right. We were all here at the house.
Right.
But I am back to work, and it is back to full throttle, and I've been busy, surprisingly.
Right.
Real busy at work, but
when you were home with all of us, we were able to do some fun things with the kids, right?
And speaking of fun things, hey, Christine, why don't we run down some of the things we did over the last year, 2020?
Yeah, well, let's start off with one of your big purchase that you made this year.
Well, big purchase. Well, there's a couple big purchases, really.
Was there?
What? Well, you should be wearing one on your finger.
It's downstairs by the sink.
What?
Sorry.
So lose it.
But that was in September.
Okay. Well,
last year, 2019. But what big purchase is sitting outside of our house?
One that's like parked out with wheels and a
very sexy sounding engine.
Are you talking about my brand new Ford F-150 Roush?
Yes, I am. With its beautiful new inserted cup holders that I bought for you, too.
Oh, thanks, babe. Thank you for Christmas present. I appreciate that.
Yeah, but you bought that truck, and I know that was a big experience for you. What was it like when you were able to actually drive off the lot with that truck?
Well, it was really weird because I was telling Jacob the other day, we were driving around in it, and I was saying how, like, growing up, I never, ever imagined that I would actually ever drive, let alone own a vehicle like this caliper of this like size. I mean, everybody at my work like drools over the truck. Everybody I run into just loves a thing. They see it.
And the girls are like, I like the color of your truck. Is it purple or is it brown? And I'm like, back up, sister. He's got a ring on his finger.
Who said that?
I'm not going to tell you.
Okay. You going to point him out?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Well,
no, I'm keeping it to myself.
So I did trade in my other truck, which I loved so much. I love my other F-150 I had. So this is my second F-150, both pretty much the same. They're both crew cab with the same 5.0 V8 engine.
Right.
It's very similar. I mean, although one is a Roush, which is like off-road, and it has all those bells and whistles and all those gadgets, and it's nice.
So basically what you're saying is you're a big deal.
Pretty much. It's like a Raptor. If you know what a Raptor F-150 is, it's like that.
Yeah. Well, after you bought your dream truck, I think it was only like 2 weeks later that I ended up trading in my sassy single girl convertible and upgrading to a hot mom SUV.
Yeah, well, actually, for far as SUVs go, it's probably the coolest, hottest SUV.
Is that just because I'm driving it?
You actually kick it up another notch, really. It's a Ford Explorer, but it's this ruby red, very beautiful red color, and I love it.
Yeah, it's like cardinal red, USC colors. Fight on, Trojans.
Go Trojans!
Yeah. So that was a big step for me because I loved my convertible, and I had a convertible Camaro, and it was like my first purchase by myself after my divorce, and I had been driving an SUV before that, and I was like, I need a single lady car, and it only had 4 seats in it. And when we first started dating, I loved when we would drive it like to the beach or take the boys out for frozen yogurt in the evenings. But there's only 4 seats and there's 5 of us. And so we couldn't ever go out as a family. Plus, it was really tight in the back seat. I remember I tried to take I did take your parents and your sister with me to this concert out at Liberty Station one time. And we started to drive away. And I had never sat in the back seat, so I had no idea how uncomfortable it was.
But
and
it's a sports car. I mean,
it is a sports car, and then the back is low. Like the roof of the car is really low. And after that trip, I was like, I need to see how bad this is. And I climbed into the back seat. I was dying. To your parents, to Fred and Sandy, and to your sister Jana, I'm so sorry that I tortured you with a ride all around San Diego in my convertible.
It's like a Mustang, the same thing. Their back seat is it has a back seat, like they say, but
they're bucket seats.
Yeah, but the seat kind of slopes back,
right?
Like your butt kind of slopes back at an angle. It kicks your legs up a little more, so you got more headroom. So you're kind of leaning back. But regardless about that, your knees are crammed and the person has to shove their seat to the front to get your legs back there.
But I upgraded the car and it fits everybody. And we were able to break it in over the summer by taking it on our first family road trip. Right, Chris?
That's right. We took a big family road trip to Las Vegas. And then from Las Vegas, we cruised up into Zion National Park, which happens to be in the state of Utah. And that is where our big road trip is we did this summer.
Yeah, and we had so much fun. And we took the kids hiking in the Virgin River. And they had a blast. I loved watching the kids walking through the water. And little Mason was up to almost to his shoulders, but he was determined. And they had their walking sticks. And I was like, Mason, do you need help? And he's like, no. I got it. I'm good. And he kept going. And I was so proud of the kids for, pushing through. And the little ones and I even went further than you had gone. And we ended up finding this waterfall, beautiful waterfall. And that whole trip and staying in our little townhouse that we rented, our Airbnb, and all of that adventure together and going to Vegas, it was such a sweet memory for me.
And if you would like to also experience a little bit of that sweet memory, you can go to our website at www.chrisandchristineshow.com. And there we have a YouTube video that I put together of that actual trip.
I love that video.
That video is live on our website still. You can find it there. And speaking of our website, I think this year was the year that I actually designed the website and launched it.
Yeah, you're right. You did. And you did such a great job with it. I love it so much and think it captures a lot of our story, our bios, and some of the interviews of other podcasts that we've been on, which I think is really a great accomplishment for us, that in addition to recording our episode every week and spending time with our family, we were able to be featured guests on a couple of other podcasts, right, Chris?
Right. People want us to be on their show. And then we've had a lot of guests on our show. How many guests have we had so far? 20-something or
We've
something?
had over 20. I was counting through this and trying to think back to when we had our first set of guests. And I think that we're bordering on 30. I mean, it's been really fantastic.
I think this year, though, was the year we actually had our very first guest that we did together. That was Krista Beck, I believe. That was I think in January.
I'm not quite sure, but I think so.
It was around January is when we recorded it. And so it was right after New Year's, I remember. And we were so nervous. We did so much prep work for that interview. We read her book, bought her book, read it. And we both discussed all kinds of stuff. And we had a whole system going on.
Right.
And we did it over the phone and trying to make sure the computer was working and just trying to make sure all the glitches were kind of ironed out before we really ran through it. And
we've continued to get better. And I think that out of our guests, all of them have been amazing. But for me, as your wife, I'm still getting used to saying that. But as your wife, I think one of the times that I was most excited for you, specifically personally, was when we got to have on our show the first individual that you'd ever listened to in terms of podcasts.
Right. Back in 2009, I started listening to podcasts for the first time ever, kind of on the reg. Only had a couple shows, and there are probably a lot less shows then than there are now. But there was a tech show called Tech Stuff from the How Stuff Works company or website or whatever it was back then. And Jonathan Strickland, the host of that show, and still to this day, he came on our podcast.
Yeah. And I think another really exciting one, which I've loved every one of our guests, so this isn't to diminish anyone, but was when we got to also interview Dave Jackson on our podcast because it allowed us to get to know the person behind the podcast and to get to know more of his story, and listening to him give advice from lessons he's learned from marriage and divorce and being on the other side. I thought it was a very rich conversation. And I think that's one of the things I've loved the most about having guests on our show is being able to make these connections and friendships. And that's led us to being able to help some of the up and coming podcasts, right, Chris?
Right, because here's a little tease for next year, by the way, everybody. Heads up. I'm looking into launching another podcast. What? Another podcast?
What?
Well, this other podcast I'm thinking about launching is going to be basically a tutorial type of podcast where I will just give you a few tips, very simple stuff, and then I will have a little one-on-one consulting via Zoom, because how else do you do consulting?
Right.
Zoom is how you do it.
Right.
And just to show you guys a few tricks and a few things to launch your podcast. But here's the catch. I'm going to make sure that I can keep your podcast to a budget of $0.
Woo!
What? I can afford $0, you're saying? That's right. You can afford $0. Now,
so this is your hot tease, and you got to stay tuned for that. Now, I have a question for you, Chris, because this is your solo venture. Are you like doing one of those moves, like the boy band where like the lead singer branches off to like have his own individual album? Are you going to abandon the band? Are you going to leave me high and dry?
Of course not, babe. This is the Chris and Christine
All
show.
right.
And I will never abandon you. Look,
Okay.
I put a ring on you and me.
I
So that's
know.
proof. That's proof is in the pudding.
All right. Well,
So look forward to that new podcast adventure I'll be putting out there next year. It's all in the thinking process right now.
Right. And I'm excited for you to do that. And I think that it's just a testament to how much we've grown in this show and how much you've grown in your own talents. And you are very gifted with this.
Oh, thank you. And by the way, listeners out there, let me tell you something. We don't spend a lot of money doing this podcast, and you don't have to either. So I'm going to show you some tips and tricks on how to do that.
Yeah, well, we're excited to hear about that, Chris, and we'll stay tuned over the next year or so as you help to draw people into that. But let's finish up with talking about a couple of things on the home front on what we've accomplished this year.
Oh, are you talking about the great home disasters we went through of 2020?
Yes.
Two floods in 2 months. Both in the same wing of the house.
Right.
Somewhat.
And you know what? 2020 wouldn't have ended without a bang, which is that the dryer and the dishwasher are now malfunctioning. So 2020 is ending strong.
Yes, it's like going out the way it's coming in. Just things breaking left and
It's like
right.
a tornado. It's so funny.
We had a flood upstairs in the second bathroom, or the guest bathroom.
Yeah, the hall bathroom. Mm-hmm.
And it was a busted pipe that flooded downstairs to the garage. Big disaster. And had to have the whole bathroom regutted, which was the good thing was that we had our whole bathroom remodeled. And I wanted to do that anyways, so...
Yeah. So, I mean, we ended up getting it fixed, and then we had the downstairs flood, which actually we had to move out for that. But we've come out on the other side, and in the midst of those two floods, right in the in-between point, we ended up having to cancel our Hawaii wedding, our dream wedding that we'd paid for, and pivoting quickly because we wanted to keep our same date and planning a local wedding. And I will say, from a bride's perspective, you hear after the fact, people thinking through, oh, I wish I could have done this. I look back on that day and it was absolutely magical and everything I'd ever dreamt of. And not just because I married this amazing man that's sitting here across from me, but because...
Oh, that's me? Thank you so much.
But because that day was a real fairy tale, and I got to see our boys being so excited for us to get married. And I really loved that day. And I want to pause for a second because speaking of our boys... they have asked for us to please talk for at least a minute about this being the last episode of the year. And we started our year with creating a family vision board. Do you remember that, Chris?
Yes, I did. What was on that vision board?
There was a lot of things individually for each of the kids, and many of those things included travel. So it's obvious that a number of those things weren't able to happen. We weren't able to get Mason to his first football game. Ezekiel wasn't able to go see a Steelers game. We had Hawaii, different aspects on our vision board. But at the center of that vision board is where we actually accomplished so much. And it was one-on-one quality time with the kids, cooking meals at home, paying off debts, and really focusing on that and focusing on the heart of our family.
And remodeling the house. I mean, we actually think about it. We got a brand new air conditioning unit, HVAC system put in this house. That was something we I was planning on taking care of sometime in the near future. Then also we got the bathroom remodeled, of course. And was there anything else we fixed?
Yeah. So on our list, we had complete 20 home DIY projects. And before all of the pandemic hit, we were at like halfway through. Well, we're done with that. We had individual dates with the kids, dates together, and we just had to get creative with these things. And so some of those things were early morning, little crafty projects with the kids, paying off extra debt, random acts of kindness. I feel like that's where we were really strong. And so while there were a lot of things that we'd set as our intentions for the year, like Walt Disney World and going on different roller coasters and getting a driver's permit and, things for us in terms of travel, those things, while they didn't happen, what did happen is we strengthened the fabric of our family on top of building a podcast that we are really proud of. And so while there's a lot of mess that's happened in 2020, I end this year very grateful for you and for our boys and for what we've built here. And I just want to say thank you for letting me be part of this journey with you.
Oh, babe, that is the sweetest thing that any wife, girlfriend, or lover could say, and thank you so much. That is very sweet. And I say this has been so great, and thank you so much for coming on this journey with me also, and for being a good sport and playing along on this whole podcast fun thing we've been doing, this experiment of podcasting. Remember how it all started? It was like, hey, you want to do a podcast like for fun, just to play around with it? And here we are today, and thank you for listening. We really, really appreciate this. And now, as we go into 2021, you're probably thinking, you know what? I got to get out there on the dating scene and maybe, just maybe, find that special somebody.
Ooh.
And I think, because hopefully by 2021, we're all crossing our fingers here, and that maybe the whole COVID season have ended, and we can get back to the good old, meeting and mingling.
Right.
But what do you do if you are out there meeting and mingling, hooking up with the fellas or the ladies, and things go south? Things go wrong, like really, really wrong. Well, our next two guests have a podcast dedicated to that very same topic, and we will have them on right after this. Hey there, K2 crew. We love having you as our loyal listeners.
To keep up to date with what's happening behind the scenes, check us out on social media.
Yeah, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter.
And don't forget to follow our Facebook page.
Yeah, tag us in your favorite fun stories, and guess what? You might just end up on the show.
Ooh.
Today's episode is brought to you by Fanatics.
Fanatics is the world's largest collection of official fan gear from all the leagues, teams, and players that you love.
If you enjoy our show and are looking to buy, say, a new jersey, sweatshirt, or hat, you can support us by going to podgo.co/fanatics and get 25% off your next order. That's podgo.co/fanatics.
So check out Fanatics for your officially licensed everything. Hey, welcome back, everybody. On today's show, we have not one, but two VIP guests. They are best friends, podcasters, and we are so happy to have Liz and Shayna here today from the podcast You Should Have Ghosted. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, that's so cute.
You're welcome. Hey, ladies, how you guys doing?
We're good. How are you?
We're doing well.
Fantastic.
We're excited to have you on the show today. We've been chatting about your podcast all week long, and Chris listened to it. I wanted to play the, I would say, curious observer from the outside to have you tell me all about it before I dive in, but we're excited to hear about it today.
I'm excited to tell you about it today.
Yeah, we're definitely excited to be here.
Yes.
So first of all, where in the world are you joining us from today?
We're in Connecticut, the lone state where you have no idea where it is unless you Google it.
Connecticut. Now, is Connecticut the small, tiny little state by
No,
East Coast?
that's Rhode Island. That's Rhode Island.
What do I know,
Yeah, just a tiny bit bigger than them, but not a lot.
Yeah.
Now, what is Connecticut famous for?
Probably lobster rolls and clam pizzas.
Oh yeah,
There's a
Clam
seafood
pizza?
set.
Wait, did you say
Yeah.
clam pizza?
I
Yep.
did. I've never personally had it, but I've heard great things.
Yeah, me too.
So if you live in that area, are you automatically supposed to be like a shellfish seafood lover?
Either a shellfish seafood lover or like a pizza lover, because we have New Haven pizza, and I think that's also kind of what we're like famous for.
True.
Wait, New Haven, that makes me think of one of my favorite shows. Wasn't the show Gilmore Girls focused on like Connecticut area?
It sure was.
What?
follow, yeah.
You guys are BFFs now.
Oh my gosh. Yes, officially. I am a Gilmore Girls fanatic.
I love that show, yeah.
I think I've watched it 17 times all the way
Was it
through.
actually filmed there? Or was it filmed in LA? It was filmed in LA, right?
It was LA.
Okay.
Fake Connecticut, I
Well,
guess.
that's how they do it.
Yeah, the town where it took place isn't actually real, but it's loosely based off of an actual Connecticut town, so
Oh.
it kind of counts.
Oh, well, that just crashed all of my hopes and dreams that I'd actually get to visit Stars Hollow. Man.
Never mind, it's real.
Thank you for redeeming that. Well, let's learn a little bit more about you ladies. So we hear that you two are BFFFs. So how did this bestie relationship start?
We were working at Starbucks together. I had worked at Starbucks for a little over a decade, and one day this bubbly new hire walked in, and we just bonded very quickly and became fast friends and realized that we had a whole lot in common. And it's our employment at Starbucks is no longer still in existence, but our friendship is. So
Now, Liz, was that really the story, or was she like hazing you when you first came in?
So I actually was very intimidated by Shayna when I first started. And so I knew that I wanted to be her friend, though. I was like, this lady has to be my friend. So
I will break her down.
I bribed her with free wine. And
At Starbucks? You got free wine at Starbucks?
Oh, no. I went and bought it. Imagine if Starbucks had wine. Oh, my God. That would be amazing.
Well, they do out here, don't they?
No, they don't. No, in Seattle they do.
Some stores do, but we're not lucky enough.
Yeah.
So you bribed her with wine.
Yes, I bribed her with wine, and then we started talking on Snapchat all the time, which is like our main form of communication. And then
What? You
I
can
don't know.
communicate on Snapchat? I didn't know that. I thought it was
Yeah,
like for
we-
pictures and stuff.
well, there's like a chat feature. We literally talk on it like all day, every day. So since
Okay.
then, yeah, we basically have just, not stopped.
Infiltrated one another's lives.
Yes.
Now, if you were working at Starbucks together, did you have like a secret code to like be snarky about coworkers? Like you'd have your own like secret texting and secret eyes like, oh girl, no, she didn't. Did you have that going on?
Oh, yeah.
We're both very expressive in our facial features. And sometimes you just can't control what your face says. And we very quickly learned how to read that on one
Faces.
another. So
Yeah.
we can have an entire conversation with 0 words.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's
It's very
ultimate bond.
convenient.
When you guys were, yeah, I bet. When you guys were at Starbucks working together, did you guys ever like smart at the person who ordered the horrible drink? Like, oh god, what were they thinking?
Like
A little.
most of the time, there was this one person that got like 15 espresso shots with like 15 pumps of white mocha in a large cup. And that used to really just like take forever. So whenever they like somebody who got a drink that took really long to make through the drive-thru or something, really just kind of,
Irked
set
you?
the tone for the day.
Is
Yeah.
that illegal? Is that illegal to have? I thought there was like a limit on how many shots you can take in a cup, like espresso shots.
I don't think so. We
That's
had
only a
one
California law.
I bet it is. Yes.
Oh my God.
We had one customer who would come in and get a bunch of decaf espresso to make tiramisu. And I just wanted to try the tiramisu. I didn't care how many shots they got.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm going to give you this 5 of them for free, but you must bring me my own mini tiramisu,
Please.
right?
Yes, it's my favorite.
Speaking of free items, do you guys get free drinks?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Is
while
it-
we were working.
Is it as much as you want, or is there a limit?
Oh no. I used
No
to drink
limit.
like seven drinks a day.
Yeah,
You're
my
still
caffeination
alive. Wow.
my caffeination tolerance is pretty outrageous because of working
Yeah.
there so long. It's ridiculous, but amazing also.
Yeah.
Well, Chris likes to tell me that he believes that coffee is a cure for all things in the world, all of life's ills. You know, whenever I'm not feeling good, he's like, you know what? Coffee's going to fix that. Whether it's COVID or strep throat or anything, he'll recommend coffee. He's like that dad off of the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding with Windex, but his is
Oh my
for coffee.
Oh my gosh.
Well, thank
That's
you.
so
Perfect.
funny.
But I don't disagree.
He
Yeah.
tried to tell me this morning, coffee has antibiotics in it. And I said, no, it has antioxidants. He's like, same thing.
Same thing. It's anti something.
That's right. My goodness. Well, I haven't been to a Starbucks in a while, speaking of which, because I usually brew all my coffee at home.
I know. It was so funny.
Me
We were
too.
getting ready for the wedding, and my sisters, I think it was the day before, we're texting Chris, and I have 3 sisters. 2 of them were sitting next to each other, and they're like, Christy, what's your Starbucks coffee order? I was like, why? And they said, we're texting your soon-to-be husband to see if he passes the test. And his answer was, we don't really go to Starbucks. We just grind it at home.
That's the correct answer.
Yeah, you passed.
Yeah.
I know. Well, yeah. The thing is, we have a Starbucks near us. Like everybody, I think everybody in the world has got a Starbucks right next to them. So, but we don't usually go there that often, really, because we just usually coffee potted at home, and we have our flavored creamers. And once I figured out there was such thing as flavored creamer, oh my goodness, it was a miracle. Because my parents growing up, they had that powder crap that was like,
Oh, no.
I call it milk dust, and this is coffee for you. I'm like, they'd have like the crappiest, like the worst kind of like coffee they'd make, and they make it so and they put the powder stuff in it, and I was like, that stuff's horrible. I hate coffee. Ugh.
Chris, we
Yeah.
love your parents. They just chose powdered creamer.
I know.
Powdered creamer is not good. It's weird. Why is it a powder? Why is it dairy?
All the
I
things
do
that we
it.
have to wonder about in the world, right?
Yeah.
I grew
Throw
up
that
on
on the
powdered milk, so I don't judge powdered creamer.
Yeah. It's true. It's true.
So
What is powdered milk? Sorry.
Powdered milk, it comes in a box. It's like,
a box, huh? Like a cereal box?
yeah, just a little bit smaller. And when you run out of milk at home because money's tight, you can like measure out a half a cup or a cup of the powdered milk, and you mix it with water, and there you go. Sorry, ladies.
Oh no, I've definitely used powdered milk in my day. More recently than not.
I think it's what they use to make the McDonald's milkshakes.
Oh
You know
my
what?
God.
Maybe that's why I
Probably.
love them. Yes.
Yeah, they're delicious.
Well, ladies, so you met at Starbucks, fast friends, wine at the center of this. I think I already like how this relationship started. And we'll call it PS, so post Starbucks era BFFs.
Well, I want to know is what happened to Starbucks. Where Starbucks go?
Because they got signed with an agent and they moved to Hollywood, right, ladies?
I wish.
Starbucks now. No, I had just been kind of slowly getting my degree while I worked. And once I got my degree, I was ready for a big girl job. And I did stay on for about a year. I was working a lot. So I was working part-time at Starbucks. And then it just got to a point where I didn't need to anymore. So for my own sanity, I just left. But I miss it.
Oh.
I've talked about going back.
And what was that degree in?
I got my degree in accounting last May.
Ooh, look at you, Brainiac.
Congratulations. You can
Thank
balance a checkbook. That's
you.
awesome.
I love it.
Now, are you a CPA?
I'm not. I'm looking into going to grad school, but it's kind of dependent on what happens in the future with the current state of my student loans. We'll see. I'm thinking about it though.
Well, if you're an accountant, you should get that thing figured out real easy.
Don't judge
Yeah.
us. Those of us that have student loans, kindred spirits, Shayna.
Oh yeah.
Chris doesn't want to see my totals. I keep them hidden.
I can't
She
take
hides
more
it from
on.
me.
I'm scared. I'm scared to take more on right now, but
Oh, girl.
hey,
Yeah.
Well, hey, the good news is if you die, you don't have to worry about it.
perfect. Perfect. Win. Am I right?
I just taught Chris that. He was like, oh my gosh, you have so many student loans. I was like, but here's the deal. If I just stay in school until I die, they go away.
No, permanent
That's the goal,
deferral.
to be honest.
So, Liz, how about you? When did you leave Starbucks?
I left Starbucks a little bit earlier than her. What? I left in May, actually, when she graduated. And then, because I also graduated in May, I went to school to be a medical assistant. So I decided to go get a job at an urgent care. So,
Really?
In May?
yeah.
So like
May of last year.
Like right before COVID?
May 2019. Yeah.
So like just 9 months before COVID?
Yeah.
Wow. How's that been going?
Dr. Liz is in the house.
Yes. I'm actually going to start going to nursing school after all of this.
That's fantastic.
Well, why don't you go right now? Because I'm sure they need you. And, they need nurses and stuff.
I need some prereqs first, and I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, I totally get that. My sister is a nurse, and she works at Mayo Hospital. And my mom's a nurse practitioner. So, yeah, totally
That's
get
the dream.
Got a long line of nurses.
Yeah.
Yep, I didn't follow
And
it.
Christine's going to be a doctor coming up here in next year.
Not a doctor of medicine, Chris.
Shh.
What?
A doctor is
What
a
kind of
doctor, okay?
Yeah.
I'm getting my doctorate. So, doctorate in education. But he likes to ask if I can write prescriptions when I'm done.
That's amazing, though.
One book.
I'm going to get a fake prescription pad and be like, Dr. Christine prescribes you all of the house chores, Chris.
Yes,
No.
do that. Use your power.
She already does already. My goodness.
But now it's
practicing.
official.
Yeah, totally.
That's awesome.
Well, ladies, we have loved learning a little bit about you and your backgrounds, but we also know that you have a BFF project that you work on together weekly, and that is your podcast. Am I right?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Yes.
So tell us about it. It's called You Should Have Ghosted, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what is it about?
It's, it's a the dark side of online dating, like a true crime comedy podcast.
True crime and comedy blended together?
Yeah.
You're dead. Okay, no, but tell us about it. Like, how did you come up with this idea of it being crime and comedy?
So we just wanted to try to bring some light to an episode where we talk about really depressing things. So kind of like the first part where it's true crime is serious, and then towards the end things get pretty silly. So we're definitely respectful in that we want to, not be disrespectful to the victims, but we do laugh a lot at the end.
So you're not making fun of the crime. You're having fun after you talk about the crime?
Yeah.
Yeah, or we'll have fun making fun of the bad guys.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right.
We listen to a lot of true crime comedy podcasts ourselves, and it's kind of a niche within the true crime podcast genre overall. Sometimes there are some podcasts that are a little more on the comedy side, just to keep it light. Everyone has different, ways of coping and processing this kind of information. Some people like a very clinical, fact-oriented, telling of a crime. But some other podcasts out there do approach it with a little more humor. And that's kind of how we go with it, just because we are silly and we like to laugh, and we do like to make fun of bad guys. So it was a good way to tie that all in.
So are these all related to the same niche of dating crimes, where it's like the Ted Bundy type stuff?
It's predominantly online dating that we go for. Sometimes we do find a way to slip in. Liz did one about a guy who would meet his victims through like newspaper classified ads, but we kind of find a way to tie it into online dating, or just dating in general, kind of the umbrella of that.
Now, dating in general, let's break it down here. Are both you ladies single, married, taken? What you got?
I'm single.
I am married.
Okay.
And then, so Liz, if you're single, are you currently online dating, or has this scared you away from it?
I am on Tinder, and that's basically what brought us to doing this podcast, because I would send Shayna all of these pictures of bios of guys on Tinder, and she would just be like, ew, I wonder if there's any online dating murders, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Go on, yeah.
We're curious. Tell us more.
Basically, 95% of the Tinder bios that I see, like on a daily basis, are super creepy. So I like to post them on social media. It's really
Oh, that's fantastic. I want to say, like they actually, you'd actually take a screenshot of what they would say in their bio to make fun of them on the web.
Yeah.
Oh,
Big time.
that's brilliant. I wonder how many screenshots of mine have been on there. I don't know.
No photos, but we will make fun of the bio.
Yeah.
Liz was sending me these bios, and I would just, make fun of them because that's what I do as the old married friend. I just make fun of, these creepy guys on the internet. And then we just kind of started talking, and we were like, hey, I wonder if there's a podcast about this. And after a little research, we realized there was not. So we made one.
Well, that's awesome. That's how it gets started. Be very niche. And then, if no one else is doing what you're doing, that's great. That's awesome. Good job for you guys.
So do you research different online dating crimes together, or how do you find your content?
So 1 week, one of us does an online dating murder, and then the other person does another online dating related crime.
Okay, so could you give us an example of a recent episode that you aired?
Yeah, I actually can't remember which one we just aired.
It's okay, just pick any one, and so our listeners get a little bit of a feel.
Our most recent episode, I was covering the murder. It was a triple homicide. It deviated a little bit from the online dating theme, but it was essentially a triple homicide of a 17-year-old girl's family, and she met an older guy online in the furry community, and her parents.
In the what community?
The furry community.
What's that?
You're just like fur balls, and they get together.
It's a group in which people essentially give human-like features to animal characters that they create. So they sometimes dress up and they do a lot of art.
Like cosplay kind of stuff?
Exactly.
It is, but it's cosplay with like Chuck E. Cheese, like the costume, right?
Are you serious, Chris?
Yeah, not that I've done that.
I mean,
come on.
I'm just learning about it, so that's why I'm like,
oh, yeah.
I thought that furry community was like the name of a town at first, but
oh no,
it could be.
Actually, this did happen in California, in Fullerton. This girl met this older guy online, and her parents didn't want her to date him, so he and a friend killed her parents and one of their family friends.
Wow.
But not the girl?
Not the girl, no.
Wow.
Only because her parents didn't want her to date him?
Yeah, she was 17 and he was 25. So, parents would frown upon that. But
was this after a first date?
They had been dating for a little while, a couple of months. And then they decided this guy is not good for you. So they forbid her from dating him. And he and his friend killed her family.
Ooh, that's crazy.
Yeah,
Ooh.
It was insane.
Creepy. Wow.
That's
very much so.
That's hard. Now, what about those kinds of crimes that don't end up with a murder? What other types of things have you covered?
So, in one of our episodes, I told about this guy named David Brandt, and he was a grown man who started, how do I say this? He started adding teenagers between the ages of 13 and 17 on Facebook, and then took them out on rides where he would give them alcohol and marijuana, and then he would, things would happen. Yeah, so that was pretty bad.
Yeah, we have a segment in every episode, in addition to a murder, called Scumbag of the Week, which is essentially us shaming a sexual assaulter, also related to online crimes, typically.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Is that now? A big question I have with this whole online dating thing is, how is anyone really doing it with lockdown and COVID? Is that even happening, or how's that work?
Big time.
You'd be surprised. People are still doing it.
Wait, they're still meeting in person?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. It's insane. But yeah, people are meeting strangers in public a lot sooner than one would think people would be doing right now. But I think everyone wants a quarantine boyfriend or girlfriend, or, partner.
Well, it is cuffing season, as I've just
It
learned what
is.
that term is.
What?
It is cuffing season.
Cuffing season? What's that do?
Yes, apparently it's a season between Thanksgiving and Valentine's Day when people look for a significant other to keep them company during that time so they're not alone. It's referred to as cuffing season, according to your favorite source, Wikipedia, Chris, which
Thank
you
you.
view as the most reliable.
It is. It's a pedia. It says right there.
It's a real thing.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
So it's interesting that you all bring this up because as we were looking at the topic of your podcast, Chris and I had a conversation over coffee this morning where he asked me, had I ever been the victim of an online dating crime? Right, Chris?
You did, and you would like to share that story.
Well, first of all, Chris and I met on Match.com.
Awesome.
So we are a success story. But Chris, did you have any worries about me like potentially hurting you as we met in person?
No, not really.
No, because
Not really, because first off, I don't meet at an apartment or a dark, shady alley. Hey, meet me here at 1 a.m. and turn your lights off. I'll be the guy. I'll be the creepy guy in the corner with a hood on.
But honey, that's so romantic. Isn't that how every Disney fairy tale starts out?
No, but we met at a public bar. We met actually out in a parking lot before we went into a bar restaurant.
At night. That makes it sound so great. We met in a parking lot at night.
But it was right in front of the restaurant. It was right
At a bar.
It was right in front. It wasn't like it was out in the shady alley somewhere.
That is true. I mean, if you look
Good
at a lot
part.
of these stories, a lot of them, you play them back and people are like, you should have seen the writing on the wall, right? There's so many that it's like, oh, couldn't you have seen this was going to go bad? Do you see
Yeah.
that as you're
Yeah.
reading them?
Yeah, we kind of have an unofficial list that we've been compiling as these episodes continue. And there are some common denominators. Some people are just going to be violent and scary and crazy. But a lot of the time, there are steps that you can take to avoid facing danger when you're meeting someone from online.
Okay.
So there are a lot of, you mentioned meeting in public. That's a great start. Driving yourself, also a very good start. Limiting the amount of information that you provide to these people straight away. That's something we really tell a lot of people about.
Don't give them your social security number and your address. You're
That's
saying.
a good,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Start there. And
Okay.
maybe once they earn your trust a little more, they can get your last name.
Okay, well, I agreed with Chris that I would allow my reported crime, which the police did nothing about, to be the center of your, I wouldn't say your podcast, but this interview where you can poke fun at it as much as you would like. So would you ladies like to
Oh.
hear my little crime?
I'm
Definitely.
dying to.
All right, Chris, are you ready?
Yeah, go right ahead, babe.
All right. So this happened 2 weeks before I met Chris online. And so you can tell the state that I was in by the time we started dating. So back in May of 2018, I had just decided to start dating again after taking a 5-month break. And I decided to make the leap by joining our favorite app called Tinder.
Oh.
You both got ready to go.
Oh.
And I was, I jumping back into the dating pool and I matched with a guy and his picture showed that he was very nice looking, 6'3", pretty buff, former college football player. And we chatted throughout the day on the app. And then he asked if I wanted to meet for a drink at a bar that evening. And so I said, sure, why not? Right? Because a bar could be
Mhm.
harmless.
Yeah.
So just as I was leaving my house to go and meet up with him, he said that, he only lived 2 blocks from the bar and parking was bad, so I should just park in front of his apartment. And he gave me the address. Would you like to add commentary now, ladies?
Not yet. I want to hold my commentary.
Me too. Me too.
Mind you, before I went on the date, he did tell me where he worked. He gave me the website so that I could actually research him. And then told me what kind of car he drove so that I could share all of those details with a friend if I would like to. And so I
Wow.
did, and gave his first and last name.
Wait, did he volunteer that stuff before you
He
asked?
did.
That seems creepy to myself. It seems weird.
Yeah, so tell me more, Chris.
Well, I would not volunteer. Hey, girl, I'm gonna go on a date with. I drive this car and that car. Here's the plate. Here's where I work. And here's my social security number. And that just seems weird.
Yeah, looking back
Yeah.
on it, the fact that he said he was sharing all that information in case I wanted to share it with someone so I didn't feel creeped out, maybe should have creeped me out.
I
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Overcompensation.
Yes. So then I park in front of the apartment and then I message him still all on Tinder. I'm here. And he said, okay, just getting ready because he'd been at the beach supposedly all day. Just getting ready. You can come to my door.
Oh, God.
Shayna, go ahead.
No. I'm just scared of this because the plan is already deviating from what the initial plan was.
Now,
and
Chris,
it's no longer a public situation.
On the scale of 1 to 10, from me being 0 being not naive at all to 10 being extremely naive, where would you place me just from our relationship?
9.9.
Yeah, pretty much. So I'm a little bit of an eternal optimist and, Cinderella, glass slippers, rose-colored glasses, all of that wrapped up into one. So I knock on the guy's front door, and he answers the door looking super hot in swim trunks and no shirt and flip-flops because he had just gone to the beach. And then he says, come on in and sit down. I'm just finishing getting ready. And so I go in to a darkly, barely lit condo.
Lava lamps in the background?
No. I mean, we were in the living room. And then he says, you know what? I have drinks here. Why don't we just stay here? And do you want to watch a movie? And I said, I guess, but I thought we were going to go to the bar. And he said, well, I was just there and it was pretty packed. And
wearing your swim trunks, no shirt on.
Yeah. And then he said to me, because I noticed that his speech was a little bit slurred. And then he said to me, I have I'm partially deaf, so I won't be able to hear you very well in a bar. So it's better for us if we stay here. And I said, oh, okay. That sounds good. So then we sit on the couch and he tries to make a move on me. And then suddenly the TV stops working. And then he's like, you know what? This TV is always messed up. But if we sit on my bed, we can watch it. And I was feeling nervous and anxious at first. And then he's like, I promise I'm not going to do anything. We'll just sit at the edge of my bed and we can watch the movie. It was The Godfather. I'd never seen it before.
So romantic.
I know, right? And so then he started playing it and then turned the volume off. And he said, it's okay. I can read lips.
I can't.
And I said, but I can't. And then, he tries to make a move on me. And I told this to Chris. So he's already, he's looking at me right now. He tried to make a move on me. And I told him, hey, dude, I'm not like that. I'm not that kind of a girl. And, continually trying to make moves on me. And I pushed him away and trying to get very frisky, if you can catch my drift. And so I stood up and then he grabbed my arm and he is big, 6'3", Heisman Trophy kind of guy, buff, not flabby at all. And grabbed me and he was on the side blocking the door. So I couldn't get out. And finally, figured out how to get out of there and told him he'd hurt me and had bruises on my arm. But I had to go to the front room because that's where my purse was. And, then he's you're a crazy bee, you're psycho. Why would you even come over here? And, he was blocking my phone. So I had to grab it finally and run out of there. But then reported it to Tinder and they would take no action.
What is Tinder going to do?
Right. They wouldn't delete his profile.
Well,
unless I had a case number for the police. So that was what could have been worse.
It's terrifying, though.
Yeah.
So, ladies,
oh my God,
let me have it. And I know you're always kind to the victims, but what would you have said would have been the moves that should have been avoided on that?
Honestly, just as soon as, I don't know. I would not have even gone to the door. I would have been like, no, I'll wait for you out here.
Yeah, I think as soon as he started changing, this isn't on you, but as soon as he started changing the plan, it's like, this isn't what we agreed to. I'm not comfortable with this. I just met you. I don't want to sit in your apartment. I don't want to drink in your apartment. I don't want to go to your bedroom. It's just, he kept pushing it. And that's because you're a kind person and you trusted him to the extent that he deserved at that point because you had no other reason to think anything else, but he just kept pushing and pushing and pushing to a point where, thank God you got out of there because who knows what was next, And he was big and I just, that's terrifying.
And the fact that the guy came to the door with no shirt on the first meet, that seems weird.
Although, let's be real. On Tinder, Liz, help a sister out here. How many shirtless selfies do you see?
All of them.
Right. So it's not unreasonable. And, he had said he was at the beach. I didn't think anything of it. Like,
Was it middle of the day?
no,
Okay.
it wasn't even like dinner time. And, I maybe, because we were supposed to meet earlier and then it kept getting later and later. And then it was like 10. But
Okay.
let's be real. Like, it's a Saturday night in San Diego in the summer. 10 p.m. isn't unreasonable for a hangout. Although for a first date, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, but a cute guy wants to hang out with you and you're, putting yourself back out there for the first time in several months.
Thank you.
You put yourself in situations that maybe otherwise you wouldn't have. Liz and I talk about this all of the time.
Mm-hmm.
We've both done things that, looking back, so dangerous and so, could have gone way south. But
we could have been dead.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And Tinder is on our list. That's why we kind of grunted in the beginning, because you reported it to them, and this is one of the main things that we want to do with this podcast is we want these apps to be accountable for the people that are using them. That's all we want.
Wasn't there like a lawsuit put against was it Match, or one of them had a big lawsuit because somebody did something to somebody else and they sued the website?
Yeah, that happens a lot, but a lot of the times it just gets settled out of court. I did cover a scumbag recently whose victim was kind of a high profile Hollywood executive.
Mm-hmm.
And she sued Match, and they actually agreed to start screening their users. But that was 10 years ago, and it hasn't really made much traction. But we want to put the pressure on.
Yeah,
right. Well, you just never be too careful. I think no matter how many levels of security that Match puts in place, or with any Tinder or any of that stuff, you really have to use your best judgment when it comes to the end of it. You are the last line of defense when it comes to stopping you from falling victim to some of these scumbags.
Yeah, it's true.
And I will say that after that, I realized the level of naivete I brought into dating. And so I deleted anything that didn't have some kind of a filtering mechanism like a Match.com. I didn't do eHarmony. It was just way too smart for me. And so
expensive too. That's a place, a ripoff.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, no.
But I was like on like the swiping apps, and I was on Bumble for a bit, but I just was like, you know what? I know myself that I am a bit too gullible. And while I have like book smarts, I don't necessarily have street smarts as much as I would like to.
No.
Oh, come on, Chris. So, do you find that there's, with some of these crimes, and I'm never victim shaming, but do you find that there's a little bit of naivete for some of the victims of the crime where they just maybe have a little bit too much of rose-colored glasses approaching these situations?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
100%.
And when you meet someone that you like, you want to, kind of accommodate some things for them. And you might do things that you normally wouldn't. And you might put up with things that you normally tell yourself you never would. But when you meet a new person and you're smitten, you can kind of find yourself in these situations where you look back and you say, how did I end up here? But I think everyone wants to assume the best in people. And it sucks that you have to kind of approach these things with, this person can do this to me. If I do this, they can do this. And it's not great, especially for the optimists of the world, but it's getting to a point where the reality of the situation is you have to protect yourself first. You can't put yourself in compromising positions for another person's comfort.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Shayna, I was going to ask, where did you meet your husband at?
I met my husband online.
Okay.
Ooh,
Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah. We met on Plenty of Fish.
I've used that app before, but back when it was cool.
Yeah, exactly. We met in 2012, pretty much exactly 8 years ago. And he's the only person I spent my 20s being dumb, like most of us.
Right.
And I essentially moved across the country for someone that was a waste of time. So I moved back and I was like, I just want to meet new people. I don't need to date. I just want to make friends who I normally wouldn't know. And he's the only person that I ever met from a dating app. He's sneezing very, very loudly in the background.
Oh, my goodness. Does he want to join the show? Do you want to come on?
Oh my God. I was like, who is that?
He apologizes. He's the only person I ever physically met in person from a dating app.
Wow.
And I got lucky, I guess.
Yes.
Well, congratulations. How many years
Thank
now have you been
you.
married?
We've been married for a year. We got married last May.
Aw.
Newlyweds, congratulations.
Thank
Welcome
you,
to the
newlyweds.
Newlywed Club.
Do you guys have any little ones running around?
No, just a puppy. Well,
Okay.
he's a dog. He's not a puppy, but he's a puppy.
What's
I
his
love
name?
that.
What's
See,
it-
Chris, newlyweds get dogs.
I
This
know.
is a discussion currently in our house. We have a baby tortoise, but
Oh.
Chris works nights. And I think that, while we have 3 rascals that run around this house, I need a dog baby, Chris.
Yeah.
Fine, whatever. As long as you clean up after it, I don't care.
That wasn't part of the agreement. It's
That's-
split shifts. See? Co-parenting.
Who's-
Equal parts of changing diapers of puppies.
I've been down this road before. And you know what happens is that I always take care of the pet. Always.
Well, I have it on good authority that there is a San Diego Basset Hound rescue. And Basset Hounds are the best dogs. They're pretty lazy too, so not super high maintenance. That's the kind of dog I have. His name is Django. He just turned
Django!
6.
Wait, like Django Unchained?
Exactly. That
Spilled
was
it.
our first date.
Oh, I just watched it the other night on Netflix. It was great.
I
I think
love
you
that
just finished
movie.
it last night, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah, bonding.
That was our first date. We went to the movies to see Django Unchained, so we decided our fur baby would be named Django, and it's perfect.
Oh, that's so adorable.
That's now, are you guys considering children in the future?
Chris, that's a personal question. You don't
I'm
ever
just-
ask a lady.
Why not?
Ladies, I'm sorry.
No,
We're
it's okay.
working-
We're pretty open about the fact I will not be having children.
There you go. There,
Yeah.
hang on a second. I gotta
Just dogs.
give you a.
You brat. Okay, Chris has 2 boys and I have 1. And so we have 3 together.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're not going to. Chris, you like kids.
I do.
But we
It's
do
just-
stand up for the
it's
rights
just
of
like
non.
pets. I love dogs too, but when I gotta take care of them, like ugh,
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
But-
I understand that.
That
I
is
love
a
kids. I love kids, but I have enough. I have pretty significantly younger siblings, and I've got a nephew and a niece, and now 2 nieces through marriage. So
dear friend, you don't have to
Figure it out.
justify. You don't have to justify. Women are not baby producers.
Yes.
I am a supporter of women's rights. You never, Christopher.
I am too.
Please
I love,
never ask.
I love women too. I love women of all types.
Okay, all right. You're off the market. Stop flirting.
I know. I can't help it. It's like old habits die hard,
Okay, I have to tell you, ladies. So earlier I was pretty sick today, and Chris was like, "That's all right. I can handle this interview without you, babe." And I was like, "Stop being the sweet talker." He's like,
no, you will not.
He's like, "This is right up my alley, talking about online dating." I'm like, "Okay, Rico Suave, calm down over there."
Oh my gosh, that's
What?
so funny.
I've dabbled a little bit on the online dating, from guys' perspective over the years.
Dabbled. You got yourself a wife.
Oh, there you
Yeah.
go.
You put a ring on it,
well, there you go.
or 2.
That's
Yeah.
the ultimate level up.
It is, isn't it? Though it is. I think too for me though is that like the online dating started getting old and boring for me. I don't know. Hey, Liz, are you still hanging in there? How you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
You're doing good with the online dating. He's asking. You okay?
Yeah, no, I'm not really into it anymore. I really just do it for the podcast.
See, I like that. You're doing
I-
real life action research.
Do you have
Exactly.
you have a special somebody though?
No, I don't.
Oh,
Chris, you're
That's
asking all these deeply
fine.
personal questions.
I'm okay with it. It's really not a big deal. I'd rather just be alone with my dogs.
Thank you. You
Yeah.
know what? And I think that is so important. And that's before I met Chris, I had to be completely comfortable with being, I don't want to say alone, but being confident in singleness because
Yeah.
I needed to feel that and that comfort and like being completely independent and being comfortable in my own skin. And so I give you a huge amount of kudos, Liz. And Chris, stop asking these deeply personal questions of women.
We are an open book.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
seriously.
I'm sorry. Gosh.
But I,
Well, go ahead, Shayna.
I always say that. So that year that I moved across the country for a guy, I always say that I learned a lot about myself, and I did learn how to be alone and how to enjoy my own company. I think that's so important for anyone who thinks that they're ready for a long-term committed relationship. You gotta know how to be by yourself and happy.
And I think
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, I think that if you don't, then you are more willing to ignore the red flags, which can lead to a lot of the situations that you all profile on your podcast.
Absolutely.
And again, this is not victim shaming, but for all of you friends out there in the podcast universe, definitely be confident in yourself before you go looking for that special someone, even if it's cuffing season, because we don't want you to end up being the subject of a podcast.
Can't they just Zoom cuff? Can you do it that way? Do the Zoom cuffing?
Yeah, sure.
People aren't happy with that. They get greedy.
It does.
True.
It starts turning into sexting, texting, right, real fast, I'm sure.
Yeah, I want to cook for you. I want to cuddle. I want to, all this stuff. Just people are never happy with what they have.
Hey, Liz, have you ever tried Zoom dating? Like dating through like a Zoom date?
Only Shayna.
Well, Shayna, how'd it go? Was it everything you thought it would be?
Going great. We have a podcast. We're,
Oh my gosh, Christopher, what am I going to do with you?
I don't know.
One thing that we do know in our relationship is that if we were ever to have to do something where we needed to be politically correct, I would have to fly solo.
What?
Yes.
Sorry,
I fully
Chris.
understand that.
I love you, but no filter. Well, ladies, where can our listeners find your show and find out more about you and your podcast?
So, you can find us on Instagram at You Should Have Ghosted.
You can find us on Twitter at GhostedPod.
And we also have a Facebook group. It's You Should Have Ghosted, and a Facebook page, You Should Have Ghosted.
You know what? I love that title because I think of all of the times that I was ghosted, and it was many, many, many times. And I am thankful. And you're right. There's several that I should have ghosted them.
Yeah, that's really our thing. Don't be afraid to be impolite. You know what I mean? When it comes to your own safety.
I think ghosting is probably the politest way you can go about it, really, because there's other ways you can be a jerk. You can you can totally say screw you and be real nasty, but just disappearing. It's I think you kind of get the clue. I mean, everybody gets the clue.
Yeah,
Well, you don't hear from them.
Hopefully. I don't want a long paragraph telling me why I suck. Leave me alone.
Well, ladies, this has been fantastic. So, friends, look up our friends at You Should Have Ghosted. Listen in to their true crime comedy podcast. And Liz and Shayna, thank you so much for joining us on the Chris and Christine show today.
Thank you so much for having us.
We had so much fun.
This was amazing.
The Podbreed Network is strictly for the small podcasts that are up and coming in the vast world of podcasting. Podbreed is made up of many diverse podcasts coming together to achieve the same goal of being the best damn podcast network on the planet. Find out more at podbreed.com.
That was fantastic to have the host of the You Should Have Ghosted podcast on our show for our very last episode of 2020.
Yeah, it definitely was. Was there anything that you took away from that conversation?
Yeah, actually, I was thinking about when you were telling me about that crazy date you went on. I don't know if you call it a date. I think it's more of like a prey and vulture trying to catch its prey kind of thing. I was wondering if you kind of when you met me, if you were kind of well, I don't know. I just went through this bad thing. Guys are kind of weirdos down here in San Diego, and I got another one who wants to meet me at this bar. Gosh.
Well,
I heard that one before.
You know what's funny though is you sent me a picture of your car because you were so proud of your new Z, and in it had its license plate, and so I actually sent your license plate to a couple of my friends, and I said,
"Get out of here!"
No, I'm super careful about that, and I just said here's a picture of the guy, here's his license plate, here's where we're meeting. I'll check in with you in the morning, and I'll send a text when I get home so you know I'm safe. And I also had my location services on my phone so that my friends could track me if they wanted to. And you might think that sounds a little bit crazy had you not heard that previous dating story of. I mean, that was the guy that I went on a date with right before I met you.
That's what I'm saying is that I probably freaked you out a little bit, but I try to be very cool and calm, and I never really deviate from the plan that knucklehead did, because that's probably a red flag, especially for the first date.
Yeah,
I would say maybe the second or third date, really.
But you also have to think about me, and I think that I'm the type of person that might be the victim of these types of things more frequently because my first boyfriend ever, well, I mean, other than middle school, my first boyfriend was my now ex-husband, and I started dating him right after my freshman year of college. That's the only guy I dated as an adult until I was divorced and now out in the dating field.
So you're like in a little bubble and you kind of had to come out of your shell.
Well, yeah, and I grew up in a really small town, like in a very sheltered life.
Oh, yeah.
Chris got to go home to my hometown recently.
I saw that place, and I have never, ever have seen a town that has more churches and schools in a 1 mile block than that town.
But it also is like a very peaceful and calm kind of environment. And so you're right that I was a bit rattled with the San Diego dating scene. And now I see how naive I was, but it's actually taken you pointing it out to me and helping me think through things, because I'm not very cynical and you're hyper cynical.
Right. Don't trust anybody for the most part. But also, you also kind of have to know that, like, everybody has intentions and motive, and his motive was different than your motive.
Right.
And I think what he was trying to do is set up the pieces. It's like a big chess game.
Right.
He was setting them up so that he can get what he wanted, his victory.
And I could only see the move in front of me, and he already was like 5 or 6 moves ahead of me.
Well, he was just trying to get you to move in that direction.
Right.
And although the plan was originally, we're going to go to the bar, but it's like, let's go over here. Let's go to my place. My TV doesn't work over here. You know what? There's like red flag. My radar would be dinging like a mile away.
And I'm so Pollyanna that I'm just like, da-da-da-da. So it took a really nice guy like you being very intentional with me and very clear, like from the very beginning, to help me navigate all of this. And you've always been very clear with me about, like, when we first started dating, you were like, I am looking for somebody that's also a single parent so they understand the routines. And I'm very busy during the week, and it's not that I don't want to spend time with you, but here's where my priorities are right now. And that explicit and directness was really important to me.
Yeah, I'm kind of a direct kind of guy for the most part.
And there were a couple times when you had to cancel like a lunch date with me, but it was a real thing. Like, you gave me details and sent me pictures. You were like, I know I'm supposed to come have lunch with you right now, but my fridge just flooded the entire bottom of it. Here's a photo. And you went a little overboard in that way, but I actually really appreciated it, because then I knew that you weren't just giving me the runaround.
Right. I try to be very true and very honest and very transparent, I guess is what I'm trying to say, with everything for the most part. And I want you to know that when I first met you, that I wanted to show you that, yes, I'm being very honest, but I'm not trying to sound very desperate, because it can kind of slip into that desperate slope. Like, I know people that will put everything out there, like, I am available for you anytime, and I love you so much, and I will be here for you forever, and blah blah blah. And you're like, okay, slow down there, Rico Suave. You know.
Well, I'm actually going to give a shout out, and I'm sorry that I didn't run this by you before, but ladies, if you're like me and you're feeling a bit naive and confused with the dating game, in addition to listening to our guest from today on the You Should Have Ghosted podcast, you can also listen to the True Feminine podcast. And Rachel, my friend that runs that podcast, is a dating coach, and she helps ladies be able to identify red flags. And if you're a little bit naive like me, or struggling with the dating game and looking at getting it on track for 2021, then holler out at my girl Rachel. And I would love to hear from you, if you follow her on Instagram or social media, what your thoughts are.
That sounds fantastic. And once again, thank you for listening to us in this 2020 and 2021, which just happens to be next week. And we will be there back for that.
Yes, we will. And we'll see you next week.